I now give the floor to the representative of Belarus.
Distinguished Mr. President, we would like to thank the Polish presidency for organizing the timely open debate in the Security Council. They're timely given the truly disastrous international situation which we're witnessing today in some regions of the world. We are compelled to discuss this issue because of the inaction within the states themselves, first and foremost members of Security Council. Their inaction when it comes to preventing international conflicts, and the direct victims of such conflicts are precisely the civilians. The Security Council is a key and the only organ within the United Nations system which bears the main responsibility for maintaining international peace and security. Unfortunately, today, it has become a forum for geopolitical confrontation and promoting the interests of individual states, and this is at the expense of genuinely settling conflicts. Last week, during the clashes on the border between Gaza and Israel, dozens of Palestinians died, including children, and hundreds were injured. We, to date, have not received any convincing proof of the chemical weapons having been used in Duma. But after all, statements about this having been done here in Security Council were the reason for carrying out criminal military aggression against Syria. To use an expression which has become customary in this chamber, it is highly likely that we're dealing here with a brazen provocation. At one point in time, something similar was used as a pretext in order to start a war against Iraq. As a result of shelling, people continue dying in the southeast of Ukraine. To date, 4 years after the fact, impunity reigns over the brutal burning of more than 40 people during the clashes at the officers' house in Odessa. The suffering of the civilians, especially the most vulnerable groups amongst them in the course of armed clashes, is a direct consequence of unwillingness or inability of states to sacrifice their political ambitions for the sake of conflict prevention and conflict settlement. Please allow me to, Mr. President, also draw your attention to a professional group which is very vulnerable, which is always present in hotspots, and the group is translators and interpreters. Under extremely high-risk settings of an armed conflict and post-conflict peace building, translators and interpreters are in serious danger because their professional work involves them in a dialogue amongst parties to a conflict as well as with the civilians. We think that time is ripe to develop an international instrument, and to do this in the form of an international treaty or a Security Council resolution or a General Assembly decision, an instrument which would reaffirm the special status of translators and interpreters in dangerous conditions and which should heighten their protection. In conclusion, I would like to point out that the Republic of Belarus never opted out of international efforts to maintain peace and security, especially in the regional context. Belarus continues consistently supporting the peaceful settlement of the conflict process in the southeast of Ukraine, and we contribute through organizing in Minsk the meetings of a trilateral contact group of Ukraine as well as working subgroups, including the subgroup on security. We also advocate for developing mutually acceptable parameters for the possible deployment of UN peacekeepers in the region, which would satisfy all of the parties without exception. Please allow me to affirm that Belarus is ready to continue fully assisting in the peaceful settlement of the situation, including in the region. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Belarus for his statement.